Hello again. Today we're going to talk about the executive's hidden superpower, mastering complexity in an unpredictable world. Complexity is a very important dynamic that is happening in systems, so I'm going to speak at length about this. In 2008, while financial titans were collapsing around him, one CEO not only survived the crisis but emerged stronger. His secret was not better forecasting or risk management, it was understanding his company as a complex adaptive system. While competitors treated their organizations like machines to be optimized, he treated his like a living ecosystem to be cultivated. You know who that CEO was? Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan Chase. And the framework that saved his company is the same one that is quietly revolutionizing how the world's most successful executives think and lead. There is an illusion of control that we need to be wary of. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Everything you learned in business school about management is based on a fundamental lie. The lie that organizations are predictable, controllable machines where input A reliably produces output B. But your company is not a machine. It's a complex adaptive system, more like a city, an ecosystem, or even a living organism. And the execs who understand this difference don't just outperform their peers. They operate in an entirely different league. Think about your last strategic planning session. How many of those carefully crafted plans that survived contact with reality? If you're honest, probably none. That's not a failure of planning, it's the nature of evolving complex systems. So, what does complex system really look like? Complex adaptive systems have three defining characteristics that make traditional management approaches not just ineffective, but dangerous. First is emergence. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts in ways you cannot predict. When Slack started as a gaming company's internal communication tool, no strategic plan predicted it would become a $27 billion workplace platform. That is emergence in action. Second, non-linearity. Small changes can have massive impact and massive efforts can yield nothing. Netflix's decision to split DVD and streaming services seemed minor but nearly destroyed the company. Meanwhile, years of incremental improvements in their recommendation algo created an insurmountable competitive moat. And the third is adaptation. Every part of your system is constantly learning, evolving, and responding to every other part. Your culture adapts to your hiring decisions. Your processes adapt to your technology. Your customers adapt to your competitors' moves. It's adaptation all the way down. So why does traditional management fail in many cases? It assumes linear cause and effect, that's why. Increase marketing spend by 20%, get 20% more leads, cut costs by 10%, improve margins by 10%, but complex systems don't work that way. Remember Quibi. They raised $1.75 billion, hired Hollywood's best talent, and followed every conventional wisdom about mobile content, and yet they failed spectacularly in 10 months. Why? Because they treated their market like a machine instead of understanding it as a complex ecosystem of changing behaviors, competing platforms, and emerging technologies. Meanwhile, TikTok, with a fraction of the resources, understood the complex dynamics of social media virality, attention economics, and network effects. They did not try to control the system, they learned to surf it. So the systems thinking advantage is very, very critical. Executives who master complexity theory see patterns others miss. They understand that problems are rarely solved. They evolve. That optimization often creates new bottlenecks. That the most important changes happen at the edges, not the center. Reed Hastings at Netflix exemplifies his thinking. Instead of protecting the DVD business, he cannibalized it. Instead of controlling content creation, he created conditions for it to flourish. Instead of fighting cord cutting, he accelerated it. He understood that in complex systems, you survive by adapting faster than your environment changes. Consider Jeff Bezos' approach at Amazon. Day one, thinking isn't about company culture, it's about complex systems management. He understood that companies like biological systems either grow or decay. There is no steady state. So what are the practical applications that can transform results? How do you apply this practically? Start with these three shifts in thinking. First, design for adaptation, not optimization. Instead of creating rigid processes, create feedback loops Instead of perfect plans, create rapid experimentation capabilities. 3M's famous 15% time isn't about innovation, it's about building adaptive capacity into the human system. Second, manage energy flows, not just outcomes. In complex systems where energy goes determines what emerges. If all your energy goes to internal politics, that is what you will optimize for. If it goes to customer obsession, that is what will emerge. Amazon's leadership principles are not platitudes, they are energy direction systems. And third, embrace edge learning. The most important insight comes from the periphery of your organization, from customer service, from new hires, from failed experiments. Traditional hierarchies suppress this information. Complex systems thinking amplifies it. So the network effect of understanding is very important as well. And here's what is fascinating. Once you understand your organization as a complex adaptive system, you start seeing these patterns everywhere. Supply chains, financial markets, technology adoption, competitive dynamics, even your own leadership style. You realize that the most powerful interventions are often the simplest and the smallest ones. A change in hiring criteria, a shift in what gets measured, a new way of running meetings. These create cascading effects throughout the system. The execs who master this thinking become force multipliers. They don't just manage better, they see possibilities others cannot even imagine. They do not just react to change, they create the conditions for beneficial change to emerge. So your journey starts now. The readers who will dominate the next decade, the leaders, won't be those with the best strategies. They will be those who best understand how strategies emerge, how they evolve, and how to adapt it in complex environments. Start exploring complexity theory. Read about adaptive systems, biomimicry in organizations. Learn from cities that thrive, ecosystems that flourish, and networks that scale. Your competitors are still thinking in spreadsheets and org charts, but the future belongs to execs who think in systems, networks, and emergence. The question is not whether you will encounter complexity, it is whether you will master it before it masters you. The journey to becoming a complexity-aware exec starts with a single insight. Your organization is alive. Treat it that way and watch what emerges. For you to understand a little bit more about complexity, I would definitely recommend a book called Scale by Geoffrey West. That would be a very good start because it has opened my mind to many of these elements, the concept of emergence, the concept of adaptive systems. And I think I found that extremely, extremely valuable. And I often use that to shape my thinking when I do my analysis. You should do the same. Take care. See you soon. Bye.